Brian Levant har dyrket Flintstones, fra han var barn, og i årenes løb har han indsamlet stort set alt, hvad der indsamles kan, om den gæve stenalderfamilie.
It's a story about people, and they go first, and they are what's at the center of this story.
You've been a Flintstone fan yourself for
Oh
ages.
yeah, I actually saw the show's world premiere on ABC September 23rd, 1960 at 8:30 Central Time on Channel 7 in Chicago.
Quite exact.
Yes. Well, it's become an important moment in my life, as I later found out.
But how come that you have been such...
What distinguishes the Flintstones from almost anything is this imaginative world that they live in. And I think that's what appealed to me then and now. And making this film has really allowed me to flex my imagination, and all this work has really built up muscle that I never had.
But you've even been so enthusiastic that you've collected a lot of things and have all kind of Flintstone objects.
18 years ago, out of a gumball machine, I got a 1-inch tall Fred, and now I'm happy to say I have over 400 pieces of Flintstone memorabilia, you know, from the board games, hundreds of figures, lunch boxes, cameras. I'm trying to get everything, but I never will.
Wilma, how did you get rid of the ring around the collar?
I just started washing Fred's neck.
You know, Wilma, if Fred scores the highest on that test, you'll be able to hire someone to do your laundry for you.
If Fred scores the highest on that test, I'll have to hire someone to revive me.
Oh, it's true. Fred's no Albert Einstein, but you never know. He may surprise you.
Well, maybe. He has been studying day and night.
Oh, I know. I've never seen him so excited about something that you couldn't spread mayonnaise on.
Elizabeth Perkins, som nogen måske husker fra Tom Hanks-filmen Big, har rollen som Freds krævende, men trods alt også meget tilgivende hustru Wilma. How did you prepare yourself for the role?
Well, there's not much you can really do when you're going to play a cartoon character, except watch the cartoon, which I did for about 20 hours in a row. And then just tried to adopt as many mannerisms and physicalities and vocal qualities and, of course, the whole look of Wilma as I could, and try and make them my own somehow.
But you did contact the original Wilma.
Actually, she contacted me. She sent me a videotape of very specific vocal things that that sort of identified Wilma. One of them being that Fred is always said with 2 syllables, as in Fred, instead of just Fred. And it was interesting because I hadn't really picked up on that. And then when I went back to the cartoons, I said, well, she's right. And starting with Jean, I sort of was able to get into the whole vocalization of the role.
Very nice.
Thank you.
The 2 Wilmas.
Wilma now and forever. Wilma and Betty are moving in a very specific way. I remember having read you telling something about that. Could you?
Yeah, they always stand like they're in a beauty contest, you know, like Miss America. They never just sort of stop somewhere. They stop and go. And that's something that we did Rosie and I were very specific about that. And one of the interesting things about watching the cartoon is that Wilma and Betty walked like this across the room because they had very limited animation at the time. And so I said to Brian Levant when we started shooting, I said, do you want me to walk like a zombie woman? He said, no, that's the one characteristic that I don't want you to adopt. But everything else we sort of took from the cartoon in order to bring them to life.
You're good. I've been fighting off.
All right, final adjustments and we'll shoot one up. Picture is up.
Hi, behind the scenes guy. Glad to have you in bed, Rob.
Okay.
As a modern woman, what does it feel like playing this very traditional character with the wife who sort of is very
Yeah.
angry with her husband. And
I think one of the misconceptions is that in order to be a modern woman, you can't be a housewife. And that's why when Brian was talking to me about it, he says, you know, I really don't want to contemporize. In other words, I don't want all of a sudden Wilma to be walking around with a briefcase, because Wilma's very happy being a housewife. And I think that that's the true definition of being a modern woman, is that you do whatever you want and that you're free to make that choice. You're free to say, I want to stay home with my kids, if that's what you want to do. And so in a lot of ways, she is a modern woman, because that's what she's choosing to do.
Wilmas gode naboveninde Betty spilles af Rosie O'Donnell, som blandt andet har medvirket i succesfilmen Søvnløs i Seattle.
The Betty Rubble laugh, I think, is very distinctive, and that's really the only aspect of Betty that's identifiable. And when they first told me Betty Rubble, the first thing I thought of was which she did after every line with Wilma, you know. Oh, Barney doesn't like that. So when I went for the audition, after every line I did the Betty Rubble laugh, and that's the thing that I think clenched it for me.
Hal Berry fra Boomerang og Jungle Fever spiller den forførende, men forbryderiske sekretær.
Meet your new secretary, Miss Sharon Stone. My secretary?
Og pudsigt nok skyldes navnet, at rollen oprindeligt var besat af Sharon Stone selv.
I read in the trade that they were having a hard time casting this role. They had cast all the other roles, and my manager called up my agent and said, see if we can get Hallie in, and they did, and I met with Brian Levant, our director, and I told him that I thought Bedrock should be integrated this time around. And this is a perfect character to do that with, because she was not in the original cartoon, and he agreed, and he said, I agree with that, so go ahead and read, and I read and got the job. It's really difficult. It's hard enough for women in Hollywood, besides black women. It's like doubly as hard. And it's something that I think is changing. I think it's at a snail's pace, as most true change usually is, so I'm not complaining about it. But it is changing, and the fact that I, Halle Berry, can be playing Miss Stone, a black woman who is the sexy object of desire, in this movie, surrounded by an all-white cast, is saying there is change, and it is happening, but it's something that we have to fight for. They certainly didn't call me up and ask me to be this character. I had to have the wherewithal to think about it and then go out and make the audition happen and then be able to perform when I got to audition. So it doesn't just happen haphazardly. We have to make this change.
Twin Peaks agent Cooper, alias Kyle MacLachlan, har rollen som Freds skurkagtige chef, der misbruger vores lidt gumpetunge helt som brik i sit lumske spil.
did you enjoy playing bad after being the old beloved Agent Cooper?
Yeah. Well, no, it was a real departure for me, a real challenge, and doing something that I haven't done before. And I enjoyed it very much.
So what's your own relationship with the Flintstones? Did you watch the series when you were a kid? Or?
Yeah, I did. Every Saturday morning, my brothers and I would sit down in front of the television set, and we'd have our, morning of cartoons with our breakfast. And then, of course, in the afternoon, we were out playing with each other, shooting hoops and running through the backyards of Yakima, Washington.
Det var noget af en fjer i hatten for Brian Levant, da det lykkedes ham at overtale selveste Elizabeth Taylor til rollen som Freds svigermor.
I'm just a really nightmare of a mother-in-law. As an actress, I've been prepared to do anything in my career, and ending up being in a cartoon doesn't seem unseemly at all. It seems very fitting.
I don't think there is anybody like Elizabeth Taylor. You can say Elizabeth Taylor and, it's Elizabeth Taylor, and And the fact that she was playing my mother made it even a little bit more intimidating, because suddenly I thought, oh, like I look anything like her. If I did, thank God. But she was one of the most gracious, warm women I've ever worked with. I mean, really went out of her way to sort of, you know, diminish any preconceived notions anyone was going to have about her, whether it be stories we'd heard in the past or that she was going to act like royalty, because she didn't. She came in, you know, in her sneakers without a stitch of makeup on and just proceeded to get to the business of work. And she was highly professional and hit her marks and knew her lines and brought an enormous amount to the scene. I mean, I think it's one of the best scenes in the movie.
Well, somebody has to be here looking after my daughter and grandchild.
Certainly times aren't what they were. And I remember my neighborhood was a lot like the bedrock that we filmed. There were, kids would be out playing on the lawn, guys would be out washing their cars, cutting the grass, and it was a community, the kind of a place where you could walk in a neighbor's door without knocking. You could say, knock, knock, oh yeah, come on in, have a cup of coffee, or come on in, I'm in the back, come on in the garage. If you did that now, you'd probably be shot.
I think that there's a simplicity and a sweetness to it that is unique. These are very strong characters, and they're good people. They love each other, they respect each other, and the stories are about forgiveness and testing the boundaries of one's love for one another, and they always come together at the end. And baby, you're the greatest, you know, and it's a happy ending every week. And, you know, television shows come and go, except for a select few, and these find their way into our home, and they become our friends. And hopefully this summer you'll get to spend another 90 minutes with some old friends.